Stoma Wars, learning about plants while playing. A collaborative project with the Dr. Belinda Akpa group and Easy as Play. Today we're going to learn a little bit about plants and then learn how to play a new game. Plants are all around us, but for most of us, they might as well be invisible. They don't move, they don't make sounds, and they don't grow very fast. If you don't even notice that they're there, you're probably not alone. However, our lives depend on plants. We use them to build our homes, to feed ourselves and our animals, and to make the air we breathe. That means that anytime we figure out how to grow plants better, we are potentially improving all of society. However, not all environments or biomes can grow plants equally well. Here's 2 examples of biomes. Can you name one of the big differences between the two? Many things are different, but the types of plants growing in each are a clue to one very important factor. But wait, why do some plants grow in one biome but not another? What is different about the plants that means they grow better in one place instead of another? Do you have any ideas? Take a moment to think about it. Now that you've had a chance to think about it, let's take a look at a plant. What do you think it needs? One important thing is sunlight. Plants depend on sunlight for the energy they use to live. It's how they make food. Plants also need water. Sometimes humans provide the water. This often happens on farms. Other times, plants can get the water they need from the land they already grow in. But wait. If plants can get water from the ground, why do we need to give it to them? And what are they going to do with the water anyway? Well, today we're going to answer that question. But to do that, we need to change how we think about plants and biomes. It's not enough to think about just the plants. We need to think about the plants and the biome as part of one large system. They're all connected, and we can't think about one without talking about the other. Plants are important members of this system, but there's other things happening that are important too. When it comes to water, it turns out that plants are constantly using water, even if it doesn't look like it. We normally think of plants as just the above ground parts. The stems, leaves, and fruit are easy to see, and they're what we think of when we imagine a plant. However, plants also have a large root system that grow through the soil. In the soil, there's water. Sometimes it's a lot of water, and sometimes it's very little. Either way, plants use their roots to absorb the water. In the process, the water carries nutrients from the soil into the plant. The nutrients and the water travel up the plant to the leaves, where it evaporates from the leaf. Think of it like sweat. When it's really hot, you get really sweaty. When the sweat evaporates, it cools you down. The same thing happens with a plant. You might be wondering, wait, it escapes the leaves? We don't usually think much about leaves. They're flat, they wave around in the breeze, and they fall off once a year. But as we just saw, they have a really important role for plants. So how's that happening? If water's evaporating from leaves, how does it get out? I don't see any holes in this leaf. Well, leaves are complex organs, specially adapted to help the plant survive. Let's look at a cross-section of a leaf. There's a lot going on here. So let's take our time. Each of the circular blobs you can see is a cell. Some of them are large and help the leaf maintain its structure. Some of them are small and help generate food for the plant. And cells help the plant control how much water it releases. Let's zoom in. Do you see the small gap there at the bottom? There's a red box around it. That is a pore in a leaf called a stoma. And it's here the water escapes the leaf. Plants have many of these pores on their leaves. Let's look at them in a different way. Here's what that pore might look like if we used a microscope to look at the surface of the leaf. The pore, or the stoma, is the gap between two guard cells. The guard cells can change their shape slightly. When the plant needs to release water, the guard cells plump up and move apart, widening the pore. Here's an example of two stoma from the same kind of plant. The one on the left is open. The guard cells have moved apart and opened a hole. The one on the right is closed. The guard cells are pinched together and only a narrow slit can be seen between them. So water has been absorbed by the roots, carried up the stem, and released into the air through the leaves. What happens if a plant loses water too easily? It wilts, and the plant is harmed. The plant might recover, but it might also die. What if a plant is very slow at releasing water? Some plants don't like when they're too wet, and others don't mind. So what would happen if we took a plant from a wet biome and transplant it into a dry biome? What would happen then? What about the other way? If we took a plant from a dry biome and put it in a wet biome, would it grow well? To answer these questions, scientists need to consider more than just the plant. We need to think about the whole system, the plants and the environment. Now, thinking about the systems can be really complicated, so we're going to play a game to help us understand what's going on. That game is called Stoma Wars, and I'll be giving you a brief introduction to it. But before we get started, I have a very important message to share. In this game, we're going to assume that if a plant can release water quickly, it can also grow more quickly. However, in real life, that isn't always the case. It turns out that many factors combine to determine how fast a plant grows. In fact, scientists are still studying how plants change their leaves in order to adapt to their environment. There's still so much we don't know. Biology is often like this. Something that we observe to be true in one species is not true in another. Life is messy and complicated. Here's a picture of everything you'll need to play this game. This looks like a lot, so I'm going to go through it step by step with you. First off, let's look at the biome cards. Here are two examples of biome cards. These cards help track how much water you have available to you and how to play the game during each turn. Each card represents a biome that you might find in the natural environment. During each turn, you will collect water tokens. Your biome card tells you how many tokens you can collect and the maximum amount of water the biome can hold. Let's place the biome card on our playfield. Next, let's look at the plant cards. Here are examples of plant cards. Each card has a growth value and a water cost. The growth value tells you how much growth your biome collects when you play the card. The water cost tells you how much water you need to have available in order to play the card. As we said earlier, plants have evolved many ways to cope with harsh environments. Some plants can grow a lot, but they require lots of water. Other plants don't grow very quickly, but they also don't need much water. And other plants are somewhere in between. You will start the game with a deck of plant cards. Place them on the board, like so. To start a turn, follow the biome card. Our biome tells us to draw 2 water tokens. Next, draw 2 plant cards. Now we choose one card to play and discard the other. We only have 2 water in our biome, so we can't play the bottom card. However, we can afford the top card. Let's play that one. The card we don't need gets discarded into the bucket in the center of the table. To play the first card, we discard one of our waters and add 2 growth tokens. We also place the card we chose onto our playfield. This process repeats while you still have cards to draw. Let's jump forward a bit. We just drew the last 2 cards in our deck. This will be the final round for this phase. First, let's choose a card. We have enough water to play both of these cards, so let's play the card with the higher growth value. We have no more cards to draw, so that's the end of this round. We have one last thing to do before we finish though. Let's write down how much growth we had and the biome we were playing. You might have noticed there are 4 spaces in this table. That's because we're going to play this game several times. To reset, we have to do a few things. First, remove the water and growth tokens. Next, for each of the cards you discard, draw 1 card from the bucket your group has been sharing. In this example, we played 5 cards, so we will draw 5 cards from the bucket. Some of the cards are the ones you may have had before, but some of them may also be new. Hopefully, some of the ones you drew are better than the ones you had before. Now shuffle all the cards and put them back in the spot for your deck. Let's skip ahead a little more. We can see that another round has gone by. This time we collected 10 points instead of just 9. We're halfway done now. The second half will be just like the first, with one exception. Your biome will be changing. First, we removed the current biome card. We started playing with the wet biome, where you collected 2 water tokens per round. Next, we add the second biome card. This time it's the dry biome, which tells us we collect 1 water token per turn. The maximum amount of water our biome can hold is also lower. Before, we could hold up to 8 water without having to discard any. Now, we can hold half that. The exact values on the biome cards and plant cards shown here may not match what you see during the game. Pay close attention to your biome card. We're going to play this game 2 more times with the new biome. You'll record the scores each time. How much growth did you think you'd be able to collect? Now, I wasn't supposed to tell you this. I have a big secret to share. You really want to collect as many growth tokens as you can, because we're going to have a water balloon fight. The more growth tokens you collect, the more balls you get. Your teacher will have more of the details on how many tokens you have to trade for each ball. In the meantime, let's start a war, a Stoma War.